boys and girls, it's Overwatch League. It is the last semifinal match. We have the London Spitfire going to the grand finals, the ultimate turnaround of a team. I don't think anyone could have seen this coming. I mean, people were predicting all year they make it back, but they turned it around at the last possible minute they could have. One match away from being eliminated. They've turned it all around. They took down the Valiant 3-0 yesterday, and they're going to the grand finals where they could be the season one champs. It would be a little fitting, I guess. They were the stage 1 champs. So yeah, the stage 4 LA Valiant are done. The Spitfire have taken down both of the LA teams to get to the grand finals, and now we just have to determine their opponent. I'm not going to talk about Spitfire Valiant too much. It's a pretty good match. It wasn't as close as I thought it would be, but yeah, Spitfire just played extremely well. Got hats off to them. Valiant never looked too comfortable. I think you could make the case that there is a serious disadvantage of being the number 1 or 2 seed, because the winners of the quarterfinals, they already have a really good feel for the meta on stage, and we kind of saw that on Wednesday with the Spitfire winning and the Fusion winning. So the Fusion took down the Excelsior 3-0 on Wednesday, and so they just have to win one match today. New York will try to bring it back. So what do I think will happen? Do I think that New York will complete their comeback and go to the grand finals as everybody thought they would do? Or is Philadelphia going to pull up the huge upset and go on to the grand finals? Well, first we got to look at these maps. So for the first match, we're looking at starting off on Junkertown, then heading to Lijiang Tower. Third map will be King's Row, and then maps 4 and 5, if necessary, are Hanamura and then Dorado. So you gotta look at, did these teams play each other on any of these maps in their first matchup? Well, they did. They played on Dorado, and that is it. The other ones that they played on were Oasis and Eichenwald, and those are not in the rotation this time around. So all three of their matches, they were decently close last time. It wasn't like a huge blowout for Philly, but Philadelphia did definitely look like the better team. New York, they've run into the problem of that a lot of other teams have come up to at some point during the season, but it's come up for a very bad time for them. There's a hero that is meta that they can't really play well. So if you think about it, for Houston for a long time, they couldn't play Tracer very well, and that was meta, and that really hurt them in stages 2 and 3. What else? I'm trying to think of another good example. A lot of the teams, when Sombra was useful for a little while in stage 3, a lot of teams didn't really have a set Sombra player. So some teams like the Shock and a couple others, some teams like the Shock, because they have Dante and a couple others, took advantage of Sombra being good, and the other teams couldn't really do that. So New York cannot. They have the lowest time in the league on Reinhardt. They have a lot of trouble playing Reinhardt. I don't know if they just don't like their strategies, or they don't like how their team looks when they're playing with a Reinhardt comp. I don't know if they just aren't confident with Mono or Janice, both of their main tanks. I don't know if they're just not comfortable on him, but whatever the case may be, they haven't really run it, and Philadelphia runs it well. They run these tanky comps. They had a game where the Philly has been very, I guess, big fans of putting in more tanky comps, putting in or even another DPS. Well, they haven't done that yet, but they possibly could, and taking out one of their supports. So on Junkertown, they had taken out a couple of. They took out Neptuno at first and left Boombox in. Then they swapped it around when they went back there. They took out Boombox and left Neptuno in. They had Dayfly in for a little bit, but then last matchup on Eichenwald, they pulled out something very unique. They took out Boombox again, and they put in Poco. So they had Poco, an off tank, and Hotba, their other off tank. They had them both in the lineup. So they were running these tanky comps, and I think they had Hotba go to Zen for part of it too, and it actually worked out pretty darn well. They did end up winning that map pretty convincingly. I mean, that was a 3-1. So they've looked like they have a much better grasp of what to do in this current meta. New York is still just kind of like, I don't know, they're kind of like winging it. They're playing Libero and Pine at the same time. They're having Libero play on Tracer. That's not going to work out for you. They got Pine Savioli. It's still a little bit weird. Even Savioli Libero combo didn't really work that well. So I think they definitely, after Wednesday, they had to go back into their room and be like, okay guys, we got to figure out something or we're going to get bounced. Even though we were the best team all season. Well, Spitfire was best team in stage 1. New York was the best team for the last 3 stages, and now they're on the brink of getting knocked out before the grand finals. Based on just how these teams looked, I'm really, really tempted to pick Fusion here, but I don't think I can. At least not for the first match, especially because they didn't play on these maps. Like Philly won on Dorado. Dораdo's the 5th map, so they might even not play on it at all. They won on Oasis, but they're going to be on Lijiang, and they won on Eichenwald, but it's going to be Kings Row. So that's good for New York. It represents a really good chance for them to come back. But Philly's playing so well. If they stay locked in, and like I said, they're a good matchup for New York. They're just a really good matchup. So I'm going to say New York. Philadelphia didn't look that great on Junkertown. Either the last like 3 or 4 times they played on it. They did lose on it a couple times to the Uprising in their quarterfinal matchup. So I think New York's going to get off to a good start. They'll take map 1. 2 is a total crapshoot because Philly looked terrible on it. 1 match against the Uprising, but then their next matchup against the Uprising on it, they looked great and they won. So you kind of have to like shrug your shoulders on that one too. Could go either way. I'll say Philly on that one. Moving on to Kings Row. If Philly does take game 2, it's looking real suspect for New York then, because Kings Row's been a good map for Philly. I think New York basically has to jump out to a 2-0 lead here, or otherwise they're in big trouble. If Philly does take 3, then they go to 2-1. I think New York will definitely win Hanamura if they go there. No question about that to tie it up. Then Fusion did win on Dorado before. So these maps, they're not looking bad for Philly at all. I think they can definitely take care of business here. I don't think they will though. I think New York will take the 5th map and force the best of 3. So if I'm looking at it totally logically, I think I'd just pick Philly. But because of what New York has done throughout the whole season, I have to believe that they're going to make some of the right adjustments, and they're going to be able to play. They're going to be able to play much better. But we'll see. I mean, I think the last match proved that I don't really think they were sandbagging that much in Stage 4. At least they were in the beginning, and then towards the end they kind of lost their rhythm. And that's why I made a video, I think, recapping Stage 4, and I was just like, the New York's move to kind of like sandbag, take it easy, it makes no sense because it didn't seem like any of their players were experiencing burnout before. There was only 1 stage left, and then you get a pretty big break before the playoffs anyway. Why don't you just keep your momentum up, crush all the teams in the league again, go 9-1, 10-0, whatever it is in the stage, and then you have supreme confidence going into the playoffs, and anybody that goes up against you, they're probably thinking in the back of their heads, we're playing a better team than us. So that's a huge psychological edge to have, but I think that they lost that when they showed how beatable they were in Stage 4. I do think that they'll force the tiebreaker, though. But in the tiebreaker, I'm going to go with Philadelphia. They've been very clutch when it counts. They've always come up. They looked very shaky against Boston on that second day. They dropped the first set, and then they dropped the first map, which was Junkertown. And then all of a sudden, they turned it back on. They won the last 3 maps, especially the last couple. They just absolutely pounded the Uprising. I think that, like I said, I've said it, and a lot of other people have said it through like pretty much the whole year. Philly has such a high ceiling. When I saw them sneak in at 6, and like I saw that they got in over the Dynasty and the Houston and the Outlaws, I was like, whew. They're dangerous. I wouldn't want to play them. Thought that they would beat Uprising. They did. And now they got a chance to take down number 1 and set up a match with the Spitfire. So I think they will do it. I don't trust New York right now. They have to prove it to me with this new meta. If you can't play Reinhardt like at all in this meta, I just don't know how you can win on some of these maps. So I think Philly will pull it out probably 3-1 or 3-2. It should still be very close. Philly could win it in the first match, but because of all the talent that New York has and because they've performed very well with each other all season, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they make this one extremely, extremely close. But in the end, Philadelphia will move on to the grand finals to play against the London Spitfire, and it's going to be crazy. The match starts in about an hour and a half. I'm definitely going to be watching that. No doubt about it. Won't miss it. So, hope you guys watch as well. Hope you have a great couple days, and then I'll be back after in a day or two, probably tomorrow, to talk about what happened today and kind of see what we're thinking going into the grand finals.